I think it's a question we've all asked ourselves at least once. If you could just go back to a particular moment, change that one thing, say what you actually wanted to say, or do what you never had the courage to do. Refrain from that argument, apologize, raise your chin a little higher, help them, help yourself, or maybe cherish them a little bit more. I've always thought of Life is Strange as the answer to that question, a story of love and consequence and everything that comes with facing the truth of regret and precious memory. What it would mean if you could reopen a closed chapter, rewrite your own story. And the more I thought about Life is Strange Reunion, the more I realized that intentionally or not, this new game, this final entry to Max and Chloe's story encompasses those themes. Not for Max and Chloe, our girls have already gone through this and there's no doubt in my mind that they'll go through it again. But for us this time, you and me, it's time to face the music and hopefully reach the ending Max and Chloe deserve. Soon we'll have all the answers, but in the meantime, I'll be breaking down everything that we learned during the reveal live stream, our very first trailer, and taking you guys frame by frame through what I think is actually going on at Caladon. So what do you say? Let's do this. Our trailer begins with the most iconic moment in Life is Strange history. Max and Chloe at the lighthouse overlooking Arcadia Bay, holding hands in a perfect image of the Bay ending. We then see Max throw Lucas's gun into the storm in frustration, rejecting the cruelty of Safi's fate, before a never-before-seen shot of Chloe looking directly at the lighthouse tower comes into view. We know that the reason Chloe comes to Caladon is because she's suffering from these intense visions and impossible memories.
I know the town is fine and my mom's alive, but it feels so... What do you mean?
This is an alternate shot of Chloe's nightmare about her own death that we see later on. She's also somehow seeing Safi in these visions, and I do have a theory about this. We'll come back later. Next, two campus security guards are running towards something, and by the look on their faces, clearly in distress. But Max isn't. She looks like she knows exactly what's going on, and even walks away instead of investigating the scene. This is the same woman who snoops through people's trash cans for fun. If she's walking away, this was, in some way, expected. Max then approaches the Copernicus statue outside of a burning building. And there's actually a lot this shot tells us beyond what meets the eye. Starting with the graffiti on the left, down with Abraxas. For those who play Double Exposure, you'll recognize this immediately. Abraxas, Caladon's secret society. Widely known for stoking the flames on Caladon's wilder side of campus. Similar to Blackwell's own Vortex Club, Abraxas' origins were far more altruistic. What began as an organization focused on art and activism eventually became an elitist popularity circus.
The only thing worse than being an Abraxas is not being an Abraxas.
It doesn't surprise me that some students might have an issue with frat bro antics, but the no demolition sign thrown on the statue in protest is where things get far more deliberate. If we jump ahead a bit, those same signs are posted outside of what looks to be a fraternity house. By the boarded up windows, it appears abandoned, but the yellow tape blocking entry suggests a preserved crime scene. As she approaches the statue, Max says,
I thought the storm would be the worst thing to hit Caladon.
She could be talking about the fire itself, but I'm willing to bet that something else happened here first, before the inferno, something that has everyone on edge and that the university is trying to cover up. It wouldn't be the first time. Case in point, Maya Okada, the last secret Caladon tried to bury and failed. The manicured yard and lit porch tell us that whatever happened here was recent, and Max is likely there to find answers on her own before she's intercepted. The graffiti behind the statue is partially obscured, but with this in mind, I'm pretty sure it says, always remember. Whatever happened here, Abraxas almost certainly had their hand in the pot, and the students, they've had enough. It's way too early to tell if this was an isolated incident or just one crime scene, but I have a feeling we're in for something much darker this time around. That the torching is only the culmination of a rising threat to Caladon. Always remember, stop the lies. I actually made a theory video for Double Exposure, exploring Abraxas' cult-like potential, and I was disappointed that they were severely underutilized in the game. All we got of them was in-house politics and a box puzzle. all. So seeing them finally get some attention actually makes me invested. I mean, look at this. Their mascot is literally an ancient rooster snake god. So much untapped potential. Max rushes past the burning building to find the campus completely engulfed in flames, undoubtedly in a series of attacks against Caledon. As she turns, Moses calls out for help, and by the shape of the roof's balustrade and the statue nearby, we can tell that this is the Everett Observatory, where Max, Moses, and Safi watch the meteor shower in Chapter 1 of Double Exposure. From a different angle, we can spot that same decorative statue, confirming the location. Moses is holding someone in his arms, and the shot is super blurry, but the live stream left no ambiguity this time. It's Chloe. There she is. And if you're wondering why the heck would she even be up there? Chloe may be the touring band manager for Drugstore Makeup now, but OGs know she's still a science nerd at heart. I've always thought that if Chloe went to university, she'd definitely be a science major. I wouldn't be surprised if her and Moses hit it off, or if she happened to wander there on her own before they knew about the fires. Maybe this could explain why she ended up in the observatory that night. Max is then caught in a backdraft explosion before a quick succession of events. Campus security pointing away from the scene, a chain set of doors, Max holding her arm in excruciating pain, possibly burned from trying to grab the handle, an abandoned camera framed by a backdrop of flames, a student crying out for help, and finally matches and Molotov cocktails. Evidence at the crime scene. The funnel was likely used to transfer gas or alcohol to the bottles, but behind it we can make out the full graffiti that was beside the door. It says, "Killers." As I said, much darker this time. Max then time jumps through a selfie, narrowly escaping the worst of the blast, and wakes up at the overlook unscathed. Physically, at least. Watching this for the first time, I was on the edge of my seat seeing a return to one of the most iconic power mechanics in Life is Strange. This moment is just the tip of the iceberg, and what's striking here is that when she wakes up, we're in spring. Despite Caledon's stagnation, we're suddenly thrust into a season of renewal. Fitting. By the end of Double Exposure, Max's abilities are far from secret, and in Reunion, she'll need to do everything she can to succeed in this investigation, confiding in those she trusts and maybe even distrusts to find the truth. Although I've always preferred that the powers stay secret because it kept the story grounded, I feel like too many people knowing would cause panic, government intervention, or that. I'll admit that Max's powers being public is fascinating new territory. Circumstances we've never seen before in any Life is Strange game beyond our closest relationships, and this changes everything. How Max is treated, who trusts her, and whether that distrust could go both ways. This could even pertain to vulnerabilities, especially for Safi, who appears to be back on campus. Something that I'm really hoping to see is how Safi and her relationships have changed after her return. If there's a tension between her and her mother, Max, or even Moses after the campus incident. I mentioned before that I thought that Safi could be more of an antagonist this time around, and on the surface, it does seem that way, but after watching the trailer, I'm beginning to think the opposite now, or at least that things aren't as black and white as they seem.
If you saw this campus burn down, then it means it was supposed to happen. Who are you to stop it?
Those words didn't sound angry, they sound hurt. As if her resentment toward Caledon has less to do with her own ambitions and more to do with a darker sense of justice. Retribution for a friend who was hurt by an institution, and maybe for others who fell victim to that same negligence. I think Safi may actually be a supporting role this time. In the next scene, we can see another Max standing in the background. While this looks super ominous at first, I think Safi is helping Max infiltrate Abraxas. In the masquerade scene, judging by the movement in the background and all the food and drink, this appears to be some kind of party or private gathering. Max is wearing that same mock neck shirt and is speaking to a masked guy keeping watch beside the house. We know by now that the best way to get info is straight from the source. Maybe Vin has some use after all. If Safi takes Max's place, the real Max could sneak in while avoiding detection. Max and Loretta then shut heavy oak doors on falling fire and debris. We know Loretta will be another supporting character in the investigation. Maybe that true crime podcast will finally do some good, but I know who could do even better. Someone who's always been allergic to a cover-up. Max's partner in time, Chloe Price, is back. For real this time. Okay. There is a lot to process here. I love that Chloe has the most dramatic entry of all time and just kicks the door open. We've gone from skinny jeans to wide-legged pants. She drives a punked out Jeep now, stickers on the roof, posters in the back, bandanas wrapped around the seatbelt. Got her high beams on a college campus. I can always appreciate a good firewalk Easter egg too. And I know there's been a lot of debate about Chloe's hair and the way she looks, but I think she looks adorable. I was kind of hoping to see Chloe with long hair like in Life is Strange too, but I think the haircut really suits her. She looks super cute. She's also being voiced by Rihanna DeVries this time around, who also voiced Chloe in Before the Storm. I know this is also a hot topic, but I honestly don't have any concerns. My main focus is on the chemistry between Rihanna and Hannah, and if that translates into the game. This short scene ends with Pressfield fleeing from the frat house, and from their conversation, this truly feels like their first encounter in years. No matter what ending you chose in Life is Strange, Max's reaction makes sense. Running into your best friend or girlfriend after years apart would make anyone hesitate. But also, listen.
Chloe.
Let's go, Max!
Police sirens. Something is going down on campus, and Chloe shows up at the exact right moment to pick up Max, which makes me wonder, how did Chloe even find her here? Max isn't out and about at the Snapping Turtle. She's in a very specific spot, snooping around what seems like an abandoned frat house. So either Chloe was tipped off, maybe by Moses or Safi, or maybe these visions aren't just visions. What if they're premonitions? While I don't consider Chloe's visions in Before the Storm to be a power, so much as a storytelling device for her trauma, would it be so far-fetched that, like Max's own abilities, these visions could evolve as well, especially now that she's seeing people she's never met before in them? We then see Max and Chloe at the Halogen house where Max is staying, before the scene transitions to Chloe in the black hole bathroom, Max approaching another building set ablaze, and what I assume is an Abraxas member keeping watch in the basement of that house, with a freaking sledgehammer. This is the basement in the gameplay section of the livestream where Max is using her power to deactivate the explosives, which is quite interesting given the no demolition signs out front. Looks like a cover-up if I've ever seen one. Chloe shoves away some guy outside of what I think is the Snapping Turtle bar. Maybe he's drunk, flirting, or antagonizing her. Either way, it's giving Vi. Next is a close-up of Max with the mask over her face and flames in the background. It seems like fire will be a major recurring theme, with Chloe even sporting flames on her jacket. By the steps in the background, this scene takes place in Moses' office. We then see a clown, Lucas, approaching the campus security. What I think is an interview with a Lakeport local, Loretta and Reggie watching something unfold, possibly witnesses. They look really tense. A brief glimpse of Chloe and Max talking to Safi before what I think will be the Abraxas party. Max and Chloe are shown in the planetarium investigating a dome projector. Things look really tense from this perspective, and I can't fully place the scene yet, but it looks powerful, like the atmosphere itself is responding to something. There's a lot of sparks and wind and some kind of reaction. And finally, this moment. Max caressing Chloe's cheek, both of them crying. The end of our trailer reflects its beginning. Our final scene feels like another heartbreaking sacrifice. Their expressions are distraught, and Max sounds completely heartbroken.
This isn't fair! You can't have come back to me just to end up here!
This lines up perfectly with my theory about a second impending sacrifice. If you're like, how does that even make sense? We've already done this twice, why would we do it again? Well, hold that thought, because after the trailer, we need to talk about the livestream first. And oh my god, was it packed? I know that a lot of these scenes speak for themselves, but I do want to talk about some things that I picked up on that I really liked. Things that made me feel hopeful about where the direction of this game could be going, at least when it comes to character authenticity. I am obsessed with details in games. I'm the kind of person who will watch pixelated paint dry for my own amusement, and it's in the smaller details that some of these moments really stand out. Like Chloe still painting her nails blue, the punk bracelets, even drinking the same beer she loved in Life is Strange 1. I'm pretty sure she's also wearing a little whale earring too, a perfect callback to the Pacific Northwest, and maybe even the Two Whales Diner, where Max and Chloe shared a lot of memories as kids. The differences in Max and Chloe's walks, how they explore, how they take up space in the environments. I honestly love the idea of dual protagonists for the final entry to the story and a blend of both perspectives. I know that seems small, but these details are optional. They're the first things to be modernized, sanitized, or lost in translation. This was something I felt concerned about going into the live stream. How well does Reunion honor these characters? Do they not just look different but also feel different to play? It's still early, but this level of care matters for player experience and immersion, especially for longtime fans. This made me really happy to see, because if they care about getting the little things right, maybe the big things are something to look forward to. And that brings us to the biggest reveal, the most unexpected thing. Max's rewind is back, and dare I say, I was more in shock at the return of Max's power than anything else. Portal shifting was cool in double exposure, but it always felt like something was missing. Max's power being dormant made sense from the perspective we were given, but it's as innate to her character as her camera. It only feels right to see it again. When Max merged the two timelines, she lost the ability to shift, but it's kind of perfect that she gets her rewind back right when she's reunited with Chloe, even if we have to break a few rules in the process. Throwing backtalk into the mix was also unexpected, but what I'm looking forward to most out of everything that we were shown, out of the new mystery, the new locations, beloved mechanics, and references to the past, is the dynamic between Max and Chloe. Seeing Max through Chloe's eyes for the first time, how they respond to each other, how much they've changed, whether your choices affect not just dialogue but the way they see the world, interact with other characters, and maybe even the way they choose to restore their relationship. I know that one of the major criticisms of double exposure was the lack of meaningful choices, and I feel like there's a lot of potential here. Seeing them drive away in Chloe's Jeep reminded me so much of Tell Me Why, Allison and Tyler Ronan. The duality of perspective, the investigation, suspicious locals, relying on one another to see it through to the end in the only way they know how. Together. But as we see in the reveal trailer, in every Life is Strange entry to date, there is no justice, no renewal, or new beginning without sacrifice. Happy endings are a fairy tale of Max's own making, Sean's desperation, Chris's innocence, Alex's loss, and Safi's anguish. There's something you invent in the aftermath to survive. And here's where I think the story could really distinguish itself. My theory isn't that Reunion is trying to repeat the cycle. Rather, I think it's trying to correct it. But to do so, we need to go full circle. We need to look at the beginning and the end. It took me a few days, but I think it's starting to make sense. Why is Chloe seeing Safi? It's because they're not so different. Chloe and Safi don't just experience trauma. Events unfold around them like destiny. Systems crack. Reality bends toward them like human anomalies, as if the world is trying to fix what was always supposed to happen. Both of them were harmed by institutions that faced consequences too late, lost someone they loved too early, processed their anger through grief, and in the end, became catalysts for tragedy. Chloe has always been a focal point for these reactions, but I don't think she's alone anymore. I think Safi is her echo, because the one thing that they fundamentally share, no matter how much things change and evolve, is the person who loves them, the person who would rather break the world 10 times over than accept their ending, Max Caulfield. And this next part might sound crazy. We've all seen the jokes, and I really don't want this to turn into Avengers soup. I mean this in the most grounded way possible, but I think Chloe and Safi are the equivalent of nexus beings. Not superheroes, anchors in the timeline. The storm doesn't happen because Max simply uses her rewind, when she saves another life, or even alters an entire reality. It happens when she saves Chloe, and it only stops when Chloe is sacrificed. Like the timeline itself desperately wants to erase her existence. Kate's fate was unjust, but she wasn't supposed to be on the roof that day. The animals were victims of circumstance. Collateral. Chloe was always meant to be in the bathroom that day, just like the confrontation with Safi was always meant to be the end of a violent spiral. Chloe and Safi are structural pillars, occupying the same space as contradictions in time. And when Max merges the two timelines, allowing both to exist in a future that wasn't meant to be, something interesting happens. The present doesn't know where to place them. A paradox of two histories in an unstable timeline. An incursion, two universes merging, destroying, and desperately trying to overwrite and correct the other. Chloe sees Safi in her visions because anomalies recognize anomalies. Both of them exist where they shouldn't, carrying memories that aren't fully theirs. The fire is going to be a major point, just like the Blackwell tragedies were a major point. Just like Rachel Amber was a major point. But I think the real question Reunion asks its audience isn't who we can save, but which contradiction are we ready to resolve? which is final. Because if this was the result of one anomaly, I don't think reality can handle another. I think one anchor will have to be let go. I don't think Chloe and Safi will be enemies. That would be too easy. But if Max has to make another sacrifice, if we have to make another sacrifice, choosing between your past and your future is a devastating consequence. In a story so heavily centered on choice and what we want, have you ever stopped to wonder, what would Chloe have done? What would Safi have wanted? And most importantly, was it ever our right to intervene at all? Just a thought. We will be getting more trailers and teasers as we get closer to launch, so maybe that'll help clear things up as we go. I know this was kind of intense, but until then, this is my theory for Life is Strange Reunion. If you guys have any theories of your own, anything that you want to see in this new game, or even just feelings about the trailer or the now confirmed narrative direction, I would love to hear from you. One thing that I am curious about is how the romances are going to work this time around. Can Max find someone else? Can Chloe find love at Caledon? Come on, look at the swagger. You can't tell me no one is looking. I am. What? For me, Max and Chloe are in-game, but this would be fun for subsequent playthroughs. I know that there are a lot of mixed feelings in the community right now, and I completely understand, but I want to say that for those like me who are cautiously optimistic, I do think this game deserves support. It could be the difference between this being the next entry to Life is Strange or the final one, and I'm really hoping that with time and feedback, the care we're looking for carries into a future for this franchise. There's still so much love here, and I hope to see it through. I'll see you guys as soon as we get some new info on Reunion. Until then, be sure to hit subscribe for all things Life is Strange, including news updates, breakdowns, and analysis videos. I think February is about to get real interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye.